I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Coralville City Council to order, August 14th, 2018. Roll call.
Councilmember Foster.
Present.
Gross.
Here.
Gill. Dodds.
Present.
Goodrich.
Here.
Okay, all council members except for Gill are present, as is the mayor and city clerk, city administrator, city attorney, and various city staff in the audience. I entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda minus items 25 and 26.
You almost eliminated your own report.
I did.
Okay, thank you. Okay, motion to approve the agenda with those two items of executive session deleted. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Okay, couldn't hear which one it was. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the agenda is approved. Excuse me. Now is a time on the agenda for citizen comments. This is a time that anyone would like to speak to us tonight, excuse me, about an item that's not already on the agenda. Please come to the podium.
Good afternoon, or good evening. I've never done this before, so you have to tell me what to do.
You're doing fine so far.
Okay.
Name and address, please.
Oh, sorry. Peter Abbott. Address is 2113 Rosemont Drive here in Coralville.
Okay, Peter.
As a citizen of Coralville, I'm thankful for the services you guys do. As a state employee myself, I recognize that it's you give your extra time and all that. The reason I come tonight is I have partaken in the solar Johnson County, the great adventure that we're doing down here, and I'm just going off of what the solar provider's given us. He says that Coralville is the only city in the county that's charging an extra fee. It's an $800 fee, and I'm not sure kind of what that's for, but I just kind of came to present it to you guys to wonder why that is, or in a good adventure as solar power is, if there was anything the city would think about in the future when it comes to that.
Sure. Well, I know the program that you're referring to, that the governments in Johnson County are offering citizens solar opportunities, but I have no idea about that fee, and I think we'll just have to get back to them unless someone can address that. So write down your name, if you didn't already, please, and your phone number or email, whichever you'd prefer to be contacted by, and we'll get an answer and get back to you.
Well, not to put him
Yeah, he's a neighbor.
Kelly should be able to find me.
Yeah, that's kind of when you said Rosemont Drive. I know who else lives there. So
I thought it was a neighbor complaint.
Yeah, I'm tired of feeding this turtle. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Anyone else like to speak to us tonight? Okay, seeing none, I'll move on to item 5, which is transit service changes public hearing. Item A is a public hearing on the following changes to the Coralville transit system: the elimination of the PM special route and the adjustment to the First Avenue schedule. I will open the public hearing. Are there any comments from the public? No written. Well, seeing and hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and consider the resolution. Don?
Resolution approving the elimination of the PM special and the adjustment to the First Avenue schedule for the Coralville transit system, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
Second by Dodds. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that these were the changes that we discussed during the budget cycle. If you recall, we had about a 20% increase in the property tax subsidy for the transit system, and so you'd asked for to try to decrease that increase.
Mm-hmm.
So these were the ones that we talked about during the budget cycle. And per the DOT requirements, we have to formally go through this process of a public hearing before we would make those changes.
Thank you. And the council in their packet received a report from the transit director that with the passenger numbers, and they had dropped very significantly on that special route.
Yep.
Can you remind me what those numbers were? It had, or just, I don't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah, we had in fiscal year 15, the special was averaging 10.4 rides per route, and then in fiscal year 18, which would have been the one that we just completed, it was down to 2.7.
Okay.
So, yeah, it had gone down significantly for that.
And what are the hours of that? What hours does that route run?
Vicki Rohrbach, our transit director.
So these hours kind of coincided with the Iowa City Community School District. It was our school tripper service, so that 2:30 to 4:30 range.
Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Resolution is approved all ayes with Gill absent. Item 6 is Coral Ridge Avenue Phase 1 wall repairs. This is a project that we've heard about previously. There's a wall that was a retaining wall was constructed a couple years ago out in the section of Coral Ridge Avenue that has failed, and this is to correct that problem at no expense to the city, but an expense to the consultant. But go ahead, Dan. Dan Holderness, the city engineer.
Yes, you're correct, Mayor. The Coral Ridge Phase 1 project, which was from Holiday to Oakdale Wall 4, which is the largest wall on the west side of the project, was starting to fail, starting to lean, and so it has to be repaired. And so the consultant is going to pay for this repair work and ask the city bid the work because they're not in the business of bidding actual construction projects. So we've agreed to bid this for them and administer the construction, but they will refund the city all the expenses and costs to do that.
Thank you. Item A is a public hearing on the plan specifications at estimate of cost and form of contract for this project. Are there any comments? No written.
No written.
Okay. Close the public hearing and consider the resolution.
Resolution approving the plan specifications, estimate of cost, and form of contract, ordering bids, setting a date for the receiving of said bids, and directing posting of the bid letting, all for the Coral Ridge Avenue Phase 1 Wall 4 repairs. Introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion? Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolution is approved all ayes with Gill absent. Item C is a bid report. That was fast.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bids were taken today on this project at 11 a.m. We received 3 bids for the project, 2 of which were responsive. The low bid was received from Iowa Bridge and Culvert Company of Washington, Iowa, in the amount of $256,903.00. That low bid, is about 15% above the engineer's estimate, but we are going to go ahead and recommend that be awarded to Iowa Bridge and Culvert so that we can get this project underway and get it completed before the end of the year and before the Phase 2 project of Coral Ridge is open, so we won't disrupt traffic any more than we have to. So,
Just out of curiosity, how much was it the first time it was bid?
I believe it was a little over $400,000, and so it was redesigned. The repair work was redesigned, and so it was a significantly lower price than the first time around. So, presuming that it takes care of the wall, it's a good design and at a lower price.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Good job.
Item D, or consider the resolution, Don?
Resolution accepting bids and awarding the construction contract for the Coral Ridge Avenue Phase 1 Wall 4 repairs. Introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodd, seconded by.
Second.
Second by Gross. Discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Resolution is approved all ayes with Gill absent. And the last item for the same project is item E, approving the contract and bond documents.
Resolution approving the contract and bond documents for the Coral Ridge Avenue Phase 1 Wall 4 repairs. Introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion? Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes, with Gill absent. Item 7 is Old Hickory Lane storm sewer improvements. This is a resolution setting the public hearing on the plans and specs for this project. The public hearing will be in 2 weeks on August 28th. And this is for a project that will extend the existing storm sewer outlet from Old Hickory Lane to the bottom of the existing channel. I consider the resolution.
Resolution setting a public hearing on the plan, specifications, estimate of cost, and form of contract for the Old Hickory Lane storm sewer improvements, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gross. Discussion?
Yeah, just remind council that this is something we've talked about for a long time. And if you recall, originally it was one project that was going to cover 2 different areas, which turned out to be very expensive. We separated it into 2 pieces. The property owners on this section have agreed with the project, so we'll move forward because they're 2 independent projects. My understanding is that one of the people involved, one of the property owners in the other piece, has been out of town and hasn't had a chance to review. So once they have done that, and if we get agreement from that side, then we would move forward with that project independently. They don't need to go at the same time.
Very good. Roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Resolution approved, all ayes, with Gill absent. Item 8 is Wastewater Treatment Plant Improvements Project 2017. And this is a resolution approving an engineering agreement with Terracon Consultants.
Resolution approving an engineering services agreement with Terracon Consultants, Inc. to provide material testing services for the wastewater treatment plant improvements 2017. Introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion? Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes, with Gill absent. Item 9 is lots 1 through 4 in the Iowa River Landing, Part 9. This is the third and final consideration of an ordinance that amends the Coralville zoning ordinance to make way for the arena project and accessory buildings.
Ordinance number 2018-1013, an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance, the same being ordinance number 664 as previously amended, rezoning certain property located within the corporate limits of the city of Coralville, Johnson County, Iowa, and generally known as lots 1 through 4, Iowa River Landing, Part 9, from C2 Arterial Commercial District to CPUD2 Commercial Plan Unit Development 2 District. It's introduced for adoption and final and formal passage by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Foster. Discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Ordinance passes its third and final consideration, all ayes, with Gill absent. Item B is a resolution for the same project.
I didn't see that. Have it.
Okay.
Resolution approving the PUDB site plan for lots 1 and 2, Iowa River Landing, Part 9, Coralville, Iowa. Introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gross. Discussion? Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes, with Gill absent. Item 10 is Lot 2, Jacobs Clear Creek 6 Subdivision. This is a second consideration of an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance for this project, which is basically south and west of the Popeyes Chicken Restaurant.
Ordinance number 2018-1014, an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance, the same being ordinance number 664 as previously amended, rezoning certain property located within the corporate limits of the city of Coralville, Johnson County, Iowa, and generally known as Lot 2, Jacobs Clear Creek 6 Subdivision, from C2 Arterial Commercial District to CPUD2 Commercial Plan Unit Development 2 District. Is introduced for adoption and second consideration by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion? Roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Okay, the ordinance passes its second consideration, all ayes, with Gill absent. Item 11 is Mondanaro Reunion Brew House. This is the second reading of an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance that will allow for a 10,000 square foot brewery on the rear of the Reunion Brew lot and reconfiguring the parking lot, a separate structure on the back there. Don?
Ordinance number 2018-1015, an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance, the same being ordinance number 664, as previously amended, rezoning certain property located within the corporate limits of the city of Coralville, Johnson County, Iowa, and generally known as Mondanaro Reunion Brew House, Coralville, from I-2 Light Industrial District to CPUD2 Commercial Plan Unit Development 2 District. Is introduced for adoption and second consideration by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion? Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Ordinance passes its second consideration, all ayes, with Gill absent. I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules and collapse the third reading of this ordinance.
So move.
Moved by Goodrich, seconded by
Second.
Foster. Roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross. Dodds.
Aye.
Motion passes all ayes with Gill absent. So Don will entertain the third and final consideration.
Ordinance number 2018-1015, an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance, the same being ordinance number 664, as previously amended, rezoning certain property located within the corporate limits of the city of Coralville, Johnson County, Iowa, and generally known as Mondanaro Reunion Brew House, Coralville, from I-2 Light Industrial District to CPUD2 Commercial Plan Unit Development 2 District, is introduced for adoption, third and final consideration by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gross. Discussion? Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Ordinance passes its third and final consideration, all ayes with Gill absent. And finally, item D for this project is a resolution approving the site plan.
Resolution approving the PUDB site plan for Mondanaro Reunion Brew House, Coralville, Iowa, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Foster. Discussion? Roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes with Gill absent. Item 12 is Woodland Trails. This is the second consideration of an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance that will allow for a single lot residential subdivision located at 2305 Oakdale Road that will have two threeplex townhomes.
Ordinance number 2018-1016, an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance, the same being ordinance number 664, as previously amended, rezoning certain property located within the corporate limits of the city of Coralville, Johnson County, Iowa, and generally known as Woodland Trails, from R1 Single Family Residential District to RPUD2 Residential Planned Unit Development 2 District, is introduced for adoption, second consideration by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion? Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Ordinance passes its second consideration, all ayes with Gill absent. Item 13 is a second consideration of an ordinance regarding carbon monoxide and smoke detectors in our rental properties in Coralville.
Ordinance number 2018-1017, an ordinance amending Chapter 145 of the Code of Ordinances regarding the requirements for smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors in rental housing units. It is introduced for adoption, second consideration by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Ordinance passes its second consideration, all ayes with Gill absent. Item 14 is a speed zone amendment. This is the third and final consideration of an ordinance change that will modify the speed limit on Camp Cardinal Road near Norman Borlaug Elementary School.
Ordinance number 2018-1012, an ordinance amending Chapter 63 of the Coralville Code of Ordinances 2011 as previously amended regarding the speed limit on Camp Cardinal Boulevard, is introduced for adoption, third and final consideration by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Second by Foster. Discussion? Roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
The ordinance change passes its third and final consideration, all ayes with Gill absent. Item 15 is Iowa River Landing. This, item A is a resolution approving an amendment to the Iowa River Landing license agreement with Scratch Cupcakery. This tenant has exercised their option to extend the terms of the lease for 3 more years, which is up until January 31st, 2022.
Resolution approving amendment number 2 to the Iowa River Landing lease agreement with Scratch Cupcakery at Iowa River Landing LLC, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes with Gill absent. Item B is a similar resolution modifying the lease terms with Fuzzy's Taco to adjust their rents. Don?
Resolution approving amendment number 1 to the Iowa River Landing lease agreement with Fuzzed Up 2 LLC, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion? Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes with Gill absent. Item C is a resolution approving a purchase agreement on Quarry Road. This is for the purchase of the CenturyLink building, where they can stay until December 31st, 2019, or until they find a new location.
Resolution ratifying and approving the purchase agreement for 802 Quarry Road, Coralville, Iowa, is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Foster. Discussion?
Yeah, this will enable us, is the corner of the Iowa Arena project is on the back side of this property. So we'll do a survey and then a subdivision, separate off the front part from the portion that we need for the arena. And then the intent would be to accept offers and for the front part of the property.
Very good. Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich. Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
That resolution is approved all ayes with Gill absent. Item 16 are bonds. Item A is a resolution to set a public hearing, which will be on 2 weeks from tonight, August 28th, for the financing, design, and construction of the wastewater plant improvements. That will be repaid through net revenues of the sewer enterprise funds. So again, we're just setting a public hearing on August 28th.
Resolution to fix a date for public hearing on proposal to enter into a sewer revenue loan and dispersal agreement and to borrow money thereunder in the principal amount not to exceed $8,986,000 is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion? Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolution is approved all ayes with Gill absent. Item B is a resolution providing for the sale of bonds, and this is for the refinalization of arrangements to sell loans for the construction and opening of the arena project. There are some changes in the borrowing structure, so this is why we're having to redo this tonight.
Resolution providing for the sale of bonds and setting perimeters for the sale of bonds and approving a purchase agreement and an official statement, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gross. Discussion? Do you want to just briefly explain what?
Yeah, this just proceeds forward with the sale of the bonds, and it does include the sales tax portion, which will be coming from the state in that sale.
Oh, I see, okay. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Resolution is approved all ayes with Gill absent. Item 17 is 5 separate resolutions regarding the agreements for the development, construction, operation, and financing of the Iowa Arena and related projects. So Don, I'll just let you read the first resolution. That pretty much describes it.
Resolution providing for and approving a development agreement and related documents related to construction operation of arena facility in the Iowa River Landing, approving various economic development loans and grants related thereto. Introduced for adoption by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion.
Yeah, I just point out that this development agreement outlines the responsibilities between the city of Coralville and Arena Co. Just to remind everybody, the reason Arena Co. was originally developed was because we received new allocation of new market tax credits, and a governmental entity cannot receive those tax credits. So at a minimum of 7 years, Arena Co. needs to exist, and then after that 7 years, it'll be at the option of the city council to determine at that time what they want to do from that point forward. The development agreement outlines what the responsibilities are of the city. It outlines the responsibilities of Arena Co. for the operations of the facility. Would point out there's a whole host of loans in here. Would remind everyone the only difference from the very beginning, the amounts have all stayed, the total project has stayed the same. The big difference from what we originally discussed and today is who's issuing the financing. And originally we had anticipated that Arena Co. would do a majority of the issuances, and then we would provide assistance where needed. And in this outline here, the city would be issuing that and then providing the funds to Arena Co. The primary reason for that, it turned out to be significantly cheaper financing wise if the city did it versus Arena Co. themselves. There's a couple of board members I would just point out from Arena Co. Here, the public portion of that, and that's John Y. and then Josh Schomburger from the Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is the president of Arena Co. So I think that kind of outlines what this part of the actions are for.
Okay. Any council discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross. Dodds.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes with Gill absent. Item B, well, Don, just read it again. They're all very
Resolution,
similar.
resolution providing for and approving a development agreement and related documents relating to the construction and operation of hotel and retail space in the Iowa River Landing, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion?
And this is the development agreement with the private entity, which will be building and on the hotel portion of this project, and then it'll build also some shared walls between the arena and the facility that he'll be building. This is the same ownership group as that owns the Homewood Suites currently in the Iowa River Landing, and so this outlines our agreement between them and us, and we will be proceeding forward with the closing. They'll purchase the ground. There'll be a condominium project or condominium formed, which Kevin Olson's been the one responsible for that portions of that.
Okay. Council?
Can you just kind of talk about the different levels and what's hotel and
Yep.
what's...
Excuse me, the basement of that facility will be used for storage and hang space for the field house component of the project. So those are, and then there are some pieces in the basement also for the mechanical for the hotel as well. And so that'll be part of the whole condominium regime. First floor will be retail and the lobby for the hotel. They will have separate entrances. On the backside, built by the builder for the field house, will be building the entrance for that facility. Excuse me. And the entrance for the hotel will face East 2nd Avenue. And so they'll be building their own entrance. There will be a door connecting off of a hallway between the two buildings so that you could go from one to the other when you wish to do that. Second floor is office space and also has some of the mechanical areas for the hotel as well, and then they will have an outdoor patio. We are also working with them on a grant for a green roof for a portion of their part of the project, and it looks like that should move forward without any issues. So there would be 2 green roofs, one on the mixed-use building on the north side, and then this one in regards to their patio and surrounding areas. And then 3 through 5 will be the hotel exclusively.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes with Gill absent. Item C, Don?
Resolution authorizing and approving an amendment to the declaration of easements, covenants, conditions, and restrictions relating to the Owl River Landing Area, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion.
Yeah, this is a document that was one of the first documents that was recorded for the whole Eye River landing. It basically outlines the uses that can be allowed in the area and cannot be allowed in the area for purposes of commercial retail. So certain things like you're not going to have convenience stores, stuff like that down there, even though it's zoned commercial and allowed in commercial districts. This also allows any of the users to use our parking facilities for parking. And then it also has talks about the common area maintenance agreements and other items like that, and how we figure the payments that each of the tenants have to make to the city portion of the. And it talks about what the city takes care of and what the actual building owners take care of. So all we're doing really is amending, because the original one only went down to 9th Street. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it down to 7th Street. So then we will make the same ones apply, so it'll apply throughout that. And then, so once you get more retail space down there, then everybody's common area maintenance fees will go down because it's spread out over a longer or a greater number of entities here. So all the retail office spaces that are in the arena complex will pay CAM fees here, and then the hotel and the arena have separate agreements as part of the development agreements for those that aren't figured on this. So the bigger ones like the University and Von Mauer, they all have different agreements. The Homewood Suites does. It's going to mirror the agreement to the north there.
Very good. Thank you, Kevin. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes with Gill absent. Item D.
Resolution authorizing and approving a reserve fund replenishment agreement and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the city's obligation thereunder is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gross. Discussion.
Yeah, so this is one I just want to make sure we're clear because of the way it's worded about the levy of the taxes. Can you walk us through, Kelly, what that means? Because it reads as if we're right now
So
voting
there
to
are
levy a tax.
so there are in the original offerings or the original bonds that are issued, there are reserves. Excuse me, there are reserves created for each of the different bonds. And what this does is says that the city will be obligated, if those reserves were ever have to be drawn on, that the city will replenish those. And ultimately, yes, there could be a levy, but the city could also provide for other mechanisms for that repayment if you so chose. And I think that's what you need to have a discussion of is how you, if any, would want to do that differently, including setting up some type of reserve fund similar to what we originally had for the Marriott Hotel and Conference Center.
And we could utilize revenue from hotel motel tax to replenish that fund?
Yes.
And that would be a way to kind of prevent from having to levy an additional tax.
Yep. I think there's a myriad of items that you could use for that, and it would be up to you to decide. It would also be up to you to decide what should the level of that fund be. I mean, do you do it over what time period? What is there a limit that you want to have in that fund? I think there's a lot of options there, and that would be at your discretion and your control.
Just thinking though, if it's at our discretion, why is that specific line in here then?
Because this gives the bondholders protection that
Okay.
what happens if that reserve fund is ever spent, how do they ever collect back on that?
So it's just like a co-signing on a loan. It's similar to that type of a mechanism, that it's just an additional protection.
I would say that's probably true.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a way to know that the reserves are set up to cover payments that wouldn't be made. So it just automatically makes sure that the payments will be made, and these agreements obviously are in place, and it makes it easier to market the securities, obviously. But it also it would have to be triggered somehow by paying the reserves that are going to be set up with the financing in the first place. So you would have time to do, if for some reason you got to that point, you'd have probably a year or 6 months to a year to figure out how that would be done differently.
Okay, so we definitely would have time to have a discussion about how that reserve fund would be set up, and we would have plenty of time to get that in place.
Yeah,
Sure.
I believe
mean, you
that.
have time now because you wouldn't, let's see, this wouldn't ever come into play until after the hotel, or excuse me, the arena and other adjacent facilities open, which should be 2 budget years from now. So, I think it's something, if you want to do it, we should have that discussion soon, so that there's plenty of time for that. But, I think there is time over several budget years to be able to implement.
So there was a, kind of an exhaustive list of different things that this could be required to be taken out of the reserve fund. One of the items that I had a question about was like the naming rights, and I wondered if that was solidified yet, or if that was something that we were going to be left to take care of. And
The contract is being finalized by attorneys for ArenaCo and attorneys for the entity that wishes to participate in that. And Josh and I were informed on Friday that they're down to one item
okay.
to resolve, and that they'll move forward. If that were to fall through, which we do not expect, then we would charge Spectra, which they have a entity division within their group that does that, to go out and solicit naming rights contracts for us. The good thing is that we're right in the market. If you look at other arena entities as to what we were asking and what we were expecting.
So we're, I certainly understand that we're, going to bond for things that we're going to get over time, like
Yeah.
the tax credits and the sales tax from the state and things, that all makes sense. But if you throw in the naming rights, are we bonding for them? And if so, are they responsible for the interest payments on that versus
what we
us?
do is they all will pay annually for a 10-year cycle is what the naming rights is. And so what is provided for and what's in our pro forma is a net present value of what is a 10-year time period. So that's how, if you look at all those numbers within the construction that I provided you, each of those are net present values of what a stream of payments is equal to.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Very good. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross. Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolutions approved, all ayes with Gill absent. And the final resolution under this topic.
Resolution authorizing and approving a reserve fund replenishment and TIF revenue payment agreement and providing for collection of TIF revenues to pay obligations under subject to non-appropriation. Resolution is introduced for adoption by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion.
Yeah, I think this would be similar to the discussion you just had on the others, and that should be included in the discussion that we had. One thing I just remind you is this is all in the mall Highway 6 tip area, and so while we don't allocate individually out of that by properties, the amount was figured on what's created in the Iowa River Landing by this project. What were those buildings and other entities that were benefited or by the arena, which was all part of that original IRD, Iowa Reinvestment District. Thank you.
And we have a good, obviously, we have the same type of buildings on the north side, so we have a good handle on what the values, the hotel and the retail and office spaces are probably going to end up.
Any other questions?
So this would just be the revenues in that area.
No, the revenues come out of the total for the district because of the urban renewal area, which, well, actually more specifically should be said the TIF district, because that comes underneath the urban renewal, and we don't have allocated individually out of those totals.
Okay.
Roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes, with Gill absent. Thank you very much. That was a lot to get through. Item 18 is a REAP grant application, and our Parks and Recreation Director, Sherry Proud, is going to walk us through this.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an application request for the Resource Enhancement and Protection Program through the Iowa DNR, and we have had numerous grants be successful with the Iowa DNR program. This one is for 7.5 acres. 2 of those acres are fens, which are somewhat unique type of wetland here in Iowa, a very nutrient-rich area, diverse in plant life, and fed usually by a side hill seep or some type of indentation in a side hill. So it's very exciting to be able to add that, something we don't have in our wetland inventory for our park spaces. And then it has 5.5 acres of buffer land around it as well, which would be considered developable land. In addition, I want to show where this is. This is the start of putting together the large park in the west land use area here that's west. This would be just west of the Medical Classification Center, and the fens sit up here in this area here. And I have another close-up. In addition, the Iowa DOT is making a 7.5 acre investment to replace some wetland areas that they had to have for the Iowa 380 interchange. So in total, there'll be 15 acres that will get us started with this park development. The total project cost estimate is $234,000. We are asking for a $125,000 REAP grant, and that would leave us with $109,000 that would be matched either with local funds or other leveraged against other grant funds.
Thank you, Sherry. Don?
Resolution approving an application to the Iowa Department of Natural Resources for grant funding via the Resources Enhancement and Protection REAP program, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion?
Yeah, I just would point out, it's somewhat related to this, but a little bit off subject, is that if you recall, one of the things with our wastewater plant is we get a refund from the state in regards to our state revolving loan fund. They provide funding. A certain percentage of our loan can go back into projects like this, and that's one of the things that we have on our list that we would spend money on. It's a little over 2 million, Dan, I believe, 2.7, and that number would actually increase with tonight's action because it would be a percentage of the larger, so that would go up. One of the things the stormwater coordinator pointed out to me, which I hadn't heard anything about, is that there was legislation passed for 1 year that you cannot use those funds to purchase and protect lands. And so hopefully that will not continue, that legislation, because that's one of the, I think more important things that those funds can be used for. And I just point that out, so hopefully as we all talk to our legislators, we can point out to them how, the importance of being able to use those funds for that purpose.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich. Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolutions approved, all ayes with Gill absent. I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented or amended.
Move to,
Mr. Mayor, I actually have a change that was pointed out later. Item GG should be $3,675 ad instead of $73,675. So we took $70,000 off.
So 3,675, drop to 7?
Drop to 7.
Yeah, okay.
that's a big difference.
Much better. Okay, I guess motion to approve it as amended.
I would move to approve the agenda, items A through OO, including the amendment to item GG.
Second?
Moved by Dodd, seconded by Gross. Discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Consent calendar is approved as amended. Item 20 is our ever popular city engineer talking about road construction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll talk about our two major projects in the city. The First Avenue project, the majority of the underground work is completed. The water and the sanitary sewer are near completion, and the storm sewer is as well towards completion. The paving on the west half of the First Avenue, 6th Street intersection is essentially complete. We'd hope to get that open next week, but it appears that may not happen. We've had some delays, utility issues, weather issues that may not allow that to happen. But we're working with the contractor to move that forward as quickly as possible so we can get that open as soon as possible to help reestablish the transit routes and other things for school starting. This project is on schedule to complete the west side improvements, the southbound lanes, by September timeframe. At that time, they'll move traffic to the head-to-head on the westerly lanes, and then go and tear out the east side lanes and build those new. And so it is also on schedule to be completed by November of this year. The Coralville Avenue project is coming along really well. The southbound lanes from Forever Green to Oakdale are almost complete, and within the next 3 weeks, weather permitting, all of the through lanes, both northbound and southbound, will be completed. And so they're coming along really well with that. There's some traffic switches coming up a little later in the project, and this project is also on schedule to be completed in November of this year.
Dan, thank you for that report. Can you tell us anything about this? I saw the sign today on 12th Avenue Bridge over the interstate.
Unfortunately, I cannot. When I went home after work to have dinner before I could come back to council meeting, that was the first time I'd seen that sign. First time I was aware of that. So
Okay.
I will find out what's going on with that, and I will let everyone know.
Okay. Is that a DOT project or something?
No, it's got to be a local project, and that's the only road, north-south road, that doesn't have construction on it. So
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that, but I will find out.
I assume it's something that they'd like to get done before school starts.
That's my
gonna
assumption
say,
as well.
yeah.
My assumption as well. I don't know. Do you know anything about that, Sherry? I don't know it's our sign, so it's got to have something to do with the city, but I will find out and let you know, because I don't know the answer to that.
Because it starts on Friday?
It's just Friday. It sounds like
Yeah.
it's Friday during the day from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. or 5 p.m., whatever it was, down to one lane, which would be terrible backup for traffic at that point in time with everything else that's going on. So
Are you talking about on 12th?
on 12th Avenue, yeah.
I think it's just probably pouring the cement for in front of the building right there. They've been
Yeah.
working.
No.
on
But this is up by the interstate, the interstate
Over the
bridge.
bridge.
Just south of your house, actually,
You know,
yeah.
That was the safe routes to school.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fixing
absolutely.
it, the sidewalk there?
Yes, it is. So
That
my
would be
assumption is,
great.
as Megan had said, that it's something to do with
Widening
sidewalks
that
and
sidewalk.
getting it done before school starts. But again, I apologize, I'm not aware of what the issue is or what the concern is, but I will find out and I will let everybody know.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can
Any
I
other-
just say the First Avenue, Oakdale, that patch that was fixed there is so nice now.
Good. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank
That is a great improvement.
Right by the stoplight.
Yes.
Anything you want to say about the DOT project of the lane on Coral Ridge Avenue?
That is thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is a DOT project, not a city project, on Coral Ridge Avenue and Commerce Drive, the I-80 westbound off-ramps. That was supposed to be done by the time school starts, and they're obviously not going to make that, but they do, I believe, now have all the through lanes paved. They got some intersection work to do and paving to do, but I think that's coming along fairly well, and hopefully we can get that open as soon as possible as well. Then the goal of that project is to add additional southbound turn lanes on Coral Ridge onto the interstate, onto Commerce Drive, so that in the future when the 8380 systems interchange is under construction, and if the Forever Green Road, Coral Ridge Avenue route has to be used for a diversion route for accidents or something, that it will provide more capacity, more straightforward ability to get traffic through that intersection.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Item 21 is City Administrator Report.
Yeah, I'd first of all just like to thank all the volunteers and the people that participated in the Fifth Street Social. That was the third year, I think, Sherry?
Second year.
Second year.
Second year and the third year. The first year was the street.
Yeah, well, so it's the third year of the event. But anyway, just thank everybody that helped with that. It's another great event there. And just remind people that Fry Fest is coming up the Friday of Labor Day weekend, and there's still need of volunteers. So that'd be a good thing to, if you have some time. It's a fun, very fun event, and would encourage people to get a hold of the website and sign up for volunteer spots. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Item 22 is Mayor's Report. I don't have much to add. You always steal my thunder. I'll just say, obviously, that we just mentioned school is starting before the next council meeting. So everyone drive safely and watch out for those little guys on their way to school. And we'll look forward to another school year beginning. City Attorney's Report.
I have a resolution to say nothing more.
I'll follow that.
Okay. Committee and council members report. Lori, would you like to start tonight?
I'd just like to thank everyone who's working so hard on all these projects. It's really encouraging and great to see us move forward. And Jill, you're on the Parks and Rec, but we both are excited about this. The new activity guide just came out, so you can go to it online or also pick one up. And in that are a lot of activities for seniors that were interesting to me, and then families and so on also. And I'd just like to say that the Performing Arts Center had a nice thank you luncheon for the volunteers that they have throughout the year. And just would like to offer that also as something that people can volunteer to, is at the Center for Performing Arts Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Jill.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. A few thank yous, I guess. First, I really enjoyed National Night Out. We all had a good time attending that, and we had 13 parties, I believe, 14. There was one extra that was added on, registered this year, and so we had so many that we split up, and 2 teams of us went out, and we all had a really good time right up until the moment the torrential downpour started, and then we kind of waved at people inside their garages as they were dispersing. So, but we made it through most of them. Second, I just wanted to touch base a little bit more thoroughly on the Fifth Street Social as the Park and Rec liaison. The profits from this will benefit children in our community for scholarships to activities that they can attend and participate in. And our director, Sherry Proud, informed me that we had 2,600 people that went to our Fifth Street Social this year, which was really exciting numbers. We don't know the money numbers yet, but that bodes really well for things. And then I also want to specifically thank all of those on our Parks and Rec department that were there that evening. I saw them literally running most of the night back and forth, putting out fires and making sure everything ran as smoothly as possible. And it was really well noticed. It was very well run, and people really enjoyed it. And then finally, to thank people for going down to the Coralville Food Pantry and having an ice cream treat. They sold out, so all of that money will also help the hungry in our community. So it was a really great night for Coralville on all different ends, and I really appreciate everybody's participation.
Good report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mitch?
Yeah, dovetail what Jill said on National Night Out and also on Fifth Street Social. Since the mayor was gone, I got to do the official welcome, and I mentioned that, I think a lot of us believe in neighborhood revitalization. And I know when I ran in 2007, the first time, it's one of the things I talked about, and I said in my remarks, who would have thought in 2007 that we'd be having a festival on Fifth Street? Because I don't think a lot of people would have, and it's just, the city has invested so much into that. And the other thing I just want to point out, which I'm not sure it's a great note or not, but our city engineer, Dan Holderness, I'm not sure if he's still here, is doing this excellent job working the beer tent. Things were flowing like rivers. And then Megan Foster took over for him.
No, that's not my fault.
And the keg machine broke.
Not my fault.
Blame Megan.
Everybody was really mad because the beer was not working, but it was not my fault. And I have to say that Sherry and I dragged one of those kegs out of the back of that truck and hooked it up. Well, we didn't hook it up, but we did carry it. They're very heavy. I've never carried a keg before. So, is it my turn now?
Yeah.
I had to defend myself because I was really nervous about working the beer tent because, I know that the proceeds, it's from the beer sales that go to benefit the scholarship fund, so I felt a lot of pressure to really to deliver. So, but we did get everything moving smoothly. Everything went really well. It was a really fun evening, and I just want to echo what everybody said, thanking the volunteers, thanking the sponsors, the staff, and everybody who came to help us celebrate on Saturday night. It's a wonderful community event. I also wanted to just give a quick shout out to the Parks and Rec staff and the young people that work with the kids who attend the Spark Camp this summer. My daughter Mia had one of the best summers that she's had in recent years because she attended the Spark Camp for several weeks, and we had signed her up for 6 or 7 weeks, and she was so disappointed when she found out that it was her last week. She came home and she begged me to see if there were openings to get her signed up for the last week, and luckily there were. So she had a fantastic summer. A lot of the kids in the community really benefit from those programs, so they just do a fantastic job, and I wanted to give them a special shout out, and also just a special shout out to all of the kids who will be going back to school next week. The young ones and the older kids as well. I teach at the university, so we're welcoming back students of all ages. So I hope everybody has a fantastic year. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. We eliminated the executive session items, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Goodrich, seconded by Dodds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. We'll now have a work session in a few minutes in the room behind us. Should I just leave this plugged in?